Hey everybody, I'm Dawn Zoldi, the CEO of P3 Tech Consulting, and we're having this special broadcast today to introduce you to augmentive AI or artificial intelligence. It's called Valmiz, and we have Ram Martinez with us from a group called ASTN who invented this technology, and he's going to tell us all about it. So, welcome, Ram.
Thank you for that welcome, Don.
Of course, of course. And Ram is coming to us from the Philippines. He is in a completely different time zone. So here we go. Let's talk about this, Ram, because artificial intelligence or AI seems to be all the rage lately. And, everybody's buzzing about Chat GPT and other things. But I think the holy grail of AI continues to be what we call artificial general intelligence or AGI. Can you tell
That's
us a
right.
little bit? Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Most of the kinds of AI that we see now is narrow form of AI, only focuses on certain parts of intelligence. So we are able to automate some of those things, but not completely. There's still missing parts for us to completely reach even the simplest forms of AGI. So in order for us to reach that, there are several things that need to be solved first.
So, what are the missing pieces, if you will, to get to this level of AGI?
Primarily a basic level of consciousness, because these systems, these contemporary systems may display intelligence, but that kind of those kinds of intelligence are not true. They don't really possess their own thinking capabilities. They are reasoning not from within, but externally.
So, things like Chat GPT, for example, they're using math basically, right? They're using statistical and probabilistic methods and just grabbing information that and data sets that are fed into them. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
And so,
That's that.
how is tell us about this alternative approach that you're working on.
The approach that I'm working on is not based on statistics. It combines ideas and technology coming all the way from 1960s, from the 1960s. So the AI that we know now is not actually a product of recent research. The AI that we have now is actually, it stems all the way from 1960s, but primarily started by the West. So uh, the approach that we are taking now is not based on neural networks, not based on machine learning, not based on statistics. Rather, we take in actual client information, your actual raw data, and then convert them into a knowledge base, a super knowledge base, if you will. So in that way, the information that's contained and processed inside, it does not come from the external world, but it comes from within your organization. So in that way, that information is already pre-validated by you.
Okay, so it's almost like a hyper customized artificial intelligence. And then what does it do beyond that? So that's a known data set. What additional does Valmiz do? And we're going to get to Valmiz very specifically here in a minute. But what additionally does it do other than use the data sets from a customer?
The way you interact with Valmis is one of the key parts of this. So for most of the contemporary AI that we have now, you communicate with it via long string of query. So you tend to form um, phrases or sentences that would make sense to the machine. The approach that we're taking with Valmis is we're using a keywords-based system. You only need to specify a few things for you to get to the information that you're trying to compound, you're trying to build.
Okay, okay. And
Another
so go ahead, please explain.
another thing that's notable with Valmis is that once it is running, you don't need to turn it down, power it down, and power it on again in order for it to get updates. So with most of the systems that we have now with AI, in order for them to gain new information, get updates, they have to be turned off and turned on at some point, turned on at some point. But with Valmis, it learns. It's like a live system. It's alive. It's You don't have to bring it to sleep in order for it to learn. It learns continually.
Wow, I think we have a little video to roll here that's going to explain a little more, and then we're going to dive deeper. All right, very cool. Valmiz is like a beehive that sends out the worker bees and does all kinds of things. But I want to be clear with everybody out there that doesn't really understand AI. Explain to them precisely what augmentive AI does.
It's actually a new term that we invented to distinguish the kind of AI that we're building. So there's a lot of fear that's surrounding the AI hype now. Jobs are being replaced by machines. Um, a lot of layoffs are happening because of um, people being replaced by software. With augmentive AI, we focus on making people do their work faster, think better, and have an overall higher throughput by giving them capabilities much like exoskeletons. So we put the human at the center of the processes while enhancing their capabilities with AI.
So Valmiz is the compilation of several things, right? You have, I'll call them agents, that are components of a larger system. Can you kind of break down for us what those agents are?
Surely. So we have here Vera, Vela, Vega, and Savior. So all of them work together to form Valmis. So Veda is the core AI system that binds everyone together. It's the main reasoning engine. Vera is the one that's responsible for tracking changes across your data sets. Vela is the one that searches your network, your intranet, or the internet for information for compilation. Compilation. Veda is the agent that's involved with storage, making sure that when Valmis turns off in the event of a power interruption, Vega will be able to turn things back on seamlessly. And then Savior is the human to machine interface. He is the one responsible for bridging the gap between humans and machines. It's the ones going to receive commands and communicate back to you, much like the assistants that we have now, only that in a smarter way that it pulls together all the other four agents with him.
All right, got it. And so, unlike some of these other AIs that we're seeing out there right now that are almost like next word predictors, if you will, this is a holistic system that actually and dynamically updates, continues running, and searches out information based on keywords that the humans give it. Is that a good summary for what this does?
Yes, that's right. And the emphasis is also on accuracy and precision. So each agent is its own expert.
Wow, that's incredible. And the system comes as one. So, how give us some examples of market use cases, if you will. I know you all did a deep study into this, and at least over 50 different industries that could benefit from this kind of technology. Can you walk us through a couple examples?
Hmm. So in no particular order. So we have here um, military use case, defense. So with defense, you cannot afford to have a system that makes a wrong guess based on this on statistical approaches. So it has to use its own data, its own military your own military data to process in turn rather than guessing what to do next. So that's critical for operations. So another is for pharmaceuticals and healthcare. You want to be able to work with a system that aids you, that helps you as the medical professional, instead of um, trying to one up you by pretending that it's a better physician, for example. So you cannot replace humans in those two areas already. Another thing that we've been working on for the past years is election security. So um, it has election security hasn't really seen comprehensive use of AI to handle verification and validation. But that's one of our strong suits. That's one of the strong suits of Valmiz, since it uses data that's contained inside, free from contamination. It makes better. It can reason better and give you more accurate results. It's like hiring 1,000 experts to work on a task, but those experts have their qualifications already. So that makes it so powerful.
So, and you and I talked about this, Rom. I have a lot of fans out there in the drone and advanced air mobility and aviation world. Could this apply there too?
Yes, yes, that's a good question. So you mentioned earlier this contemporary AI systems. Now, my research showed that these systems are prone to hallucinating.
Yes, we've seen that. Some crazy answers come out. That, in fact, I think recently there was a case where literally lawyers put in some things and the AI made up case law, like names. I mean, completely fake.
Yes, completely fake. And let's not forget the case wherein the drone operator was attacked
Yes.
by. So so if you rely on statistics, for example, the statistical approach, say most of the time it works. Most of the time it works, it's fine. But when you're dealing with weapon system, most of the time it's not enough. It has to be all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, so you cannot afford sending your own missiles to your own base.
Right.
So the approach that we're taking is that the data that you have for say for the drone, the data it has collected will be processed by itself. It's like adding a new brain to the drone or to the entire. to the entire UAS. So in along with your existing systems, you add like a Lego block to enhance your capabilities. You can leave your existing systems as they are without disruptions, and then you can insert Valmiz there to improve your processes. You can use Valmiz as a standalone system, or you can use it like an additional module that's going to make things faster. So you can deploy it on the headquarters or on the drone itself. So that's how extensive it is. So it frees us. It frees us from the liability that uh, it's imagining targets where they're not there. Also, another good thing here with Valmis is that you can you can use a specific agent to perform a task. You don't need to you don't need to use the entire Valmis system to to operate it. For example, you only need, say, Veda for your systems because the other parts are already present in your pipeline. That's fine too. So it's a block of modules by itself, but then each block can also be removed and used and operated separately.
So Xavier's like the user interface, if you will, and so you can plug and play things like I can say, "Hey, here's a couple keywords. I want you to search the internet for this information," or you can say, "Hey, here's my couple keywords. I want you to search our internal
Mhm.
database for any similar cases." As an example, I'm a lawyer. Any similar cases we've seen in the past, and it'll pull those. Or you can
Yes,
combine and say, "Give me all of it."
yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
So it has that compounding capability, but that compounding is very we have to be very careful of that. We have to compound by making sure that the information sources that we're pulling from is actually existent. They have to exist, like with the example that you mentioned earlier with the
the case law where they
uh
made it up.
yes, yeah. So we don't do that. So you have to pull from existing cases, then you can compile them together, analyze them together, and give you the results that you're looking for.
Yeah, you gave a great example on the military side, and I was just curious, like how would Valmiz prevent what we heard before, and there's been some dispute about this. I think there was the Air Force retracted, oh yeah, that never really happened, but let's just assume it did, right? So they're doing some exercise and the AI decides, the humans getting in my way, I'm gonna take out the headquarters that's operating me. How does Valmiz like prevent something like
Okay, that's a good question
that? Yeah,
because
it's an important
yeah,
one, right?
it's a very important one, and that has been my emphasis for the past more than 20 years of research into these things. We want the human at the center of everything. The human is still the operator because there's something that these machines don't have. It's an objective observation of what things really are, and it's indefinite. This quality is called these qualities are called values, morals, and ethics. So you cannot rely on the machine like that to do something that's only favorable to the machine. It
Right,
may act, yeah, so it may, if you let it loose, it may act in favor of itself, in favor of its survival, but then it may be in um directly opposite to us humans. It
right.
may gather resources for them that's going to harm our lives because it doesn't care. So those are the kinds of systems that we're talking about. And a lot of discussion, a lot of interviews have happened about this. And also experts in this field. Uh, it sounds so tempting to say that the Terminator scene is here, Skynet is here. It's so tempting to give that kind of forecast in the near future. However, it's not helpful for everyone because AI has been here much longer than people thought. Automation via software has been here for a long time. And for example, let me just insert this. The anti-lock brake system on your car
Yep.
is a form of AI. So it's a miniaturized form of AI, but most people don't know that it's controlled by a microchip with very smart algorithms.
Right.
So it's not connected to the internet. Um, uh, it's offline, but it's there.
Right.
So going back to your question, the kinds of AI systems that we've built is focused on putting the operator, the human at the center, while his capabilities are augmented, amplified by the AI systems that he uses.
As I think about this, Ram, we talk about the military use case on the commercial side for drones. They're using them quite a bit for, let's just hypothetically say, inspections. Just say it's a
Mhm.
pipeline. And I'm not aware right now of any system that there's certainly data collection, there's certainly analytics on the back end to look at that pipe and look over time how it changed. What I'm not aware of is gathering information from other similar inspections from that company to compare and contrast, which I think Valmiz could do. uh, or also to compare, to an entire network for a company. Like, let's just pick Chevron or BP, some really big conglomerate that has pipelines all over the place, and maybe there's, a systemic issue with a particular part that if you're only looking at one pipe at a time, you'd have to really connect those dots yourself, and the human would have to be exposed to all of those different inspections, for whatever reason, to be able to maybe spot that issue. But with Valmiz, you could do that, right? Like, run a check and say, okay, we're seeing this widget here is broken. Scan the whole system and see in all the inspections for the last 5 years, hypothetically, we have these similar widget issues across the
yeah,
entire
there are two.
enterprise.
Yeah, there are two layers to that. So the first layer is aggregating and combining all the sources of information together. Let's just say 2 decades worth of information, of raw data. We call them now data sets.
Right,
Uh, the way we've been doing it is we get people to analyze these things manually. So they look at these tables, compare, contrast them. So it can easily take a month of work to
right,
find these things. So with Valmis, setting aside the part where it can automate handling all this information, gathering them, it's able to pinpoint and make cross references and network, create a comprehensive, sophisticated network of all those data sets wherein every part, every node is connected to each other. So then if you're looking for information for a specific thing, you can get um, uh, you can get results starting now from this specific point in time, and then branching out to parts that you didn't know were there. Because if you're going to do it manually, going back and forth through these data sets, through these files, is time consuming. Usually we do it linearly, file one, file two, file three. But
right.
then with Valmis, it does so in a very it's like a tree within a tree, so to speak. The second layer concerns with time. So usually when we're looking at something, we're only looking at how it is presented to us at that specific time. We have no idea of its previous value. So with Valmis, all the previous incarnations of something are completely captured. So when you're looking at, for example, an item called, say, Chihuahua, you can say it's Chihuahua now, but then you can go back in time and inspect it that actually in 1995 it's that value was actually Labrador.
Ah, okay. Is that Vera then that does this, the kind of the comparison?
Yeah, so Valmiz does that, but specifically the one that does that is Veda. Vera, on the other hand, is the one that allows us to communicate with the system via keywords. So
Got
it's
it.
Vera is yeah, Vera is the one that's responsible in the one that you said earlier. You ask the system via bits of information, bits of keywords. It's the one that's going to bring them together and give you the result that you're looking for.
Okay, what happens if two agents, for example, receive conflicting data? Like, how does Valmiz resolve something like that?
Ah, good question. Uh, they don't. They have very specific tasks. They have thick walls between them. There's no overlap of functionality. I just discovered now that it has been there from the start. So the when information gets passed on to an agent, it operates in its own universe. So it's free from tampering from the outside world, even from a fellow agent.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess
So
that
yeah,
gets,
just
yeah, that gets to that point of why I wouldn't attack, for example, a home base or something like that, or get or hallucinate.
yes. So your 007 agent will operate as 007 and not some another agent.
Okay, got it. So, you kind of called this like an exoskeleton for your mind, and now I appreciate why. Just to kind of foot stomp this for people, what is the value proposition? In other words, how does this help the workforce? How does this help a whole range of markets and businesses?
Okay. One of the best ways to answer that question is how do existing systems help us? Existing AI systems, aside from Valmis. Uh, like with generative data that systems like GPT are producing, it has its own use cases. We can think of endless use cases for that. You want to have a new essay, you want to have a new poem, nice looking nice looking cat wearing a helmet riding a horse on a whale. Yes, that's good. But then the main value proposition for Valme is that uh, it uses data that the operators own. So it's free from hallucination. So it has already it before you use Valmis, you have already surpassed what we call the level zero validation. What's level zero validation? In a hospital setting, for example, the doctors and the medical directors and the nurses there know what's right for them. So they know what kinds of um, care, medication, um, and drugs that they have to administer inside. They use inside the processes. So they are the ones who have they have what we call the authoritative information on what an AI system should use. So imagine a system like another system that you pull in without without knowledge of your internal processes.
Hmm.
So it may guess most of the time correct because it has already used the public data from major hospitals,
Okay.
publicly available data sets. It works, but then what about for those things that are specific to a certain institution? So that's the key thing there.
Okay. So, I mean, as I'm listening to this, getting my brain around this, uh, it sounds like it's better than what we're seeing out there right now because it's providing the customer with an army of expert agents at their fingertips that prevents hallucinations. It empowers them to use their internal or external or both information. And it's also modular, so you can build it to your task and integrate it with other systems. Is that
That's
about
right.
right? So
That's right.
you mentioned this deployment, kind of like the user interface. There's kind of an API interface and otherwise. So you don't have to be a coder, but you could be a coder and get
Mhm.
additional value. So can you explain like how it will be deployed?
Okay. There are primarily two ways to use Valmiz. One is the contemporary app, the desktop app you can use on your usual machine or your mobile devices. And you interact with it directly. It connects to your Valmis deployment in your system. Another one is if you want to use Valmis of a less interactive way, but more from the pipeline approach. So you insert it as part of your pipeline. So it has input, it processes the input, and then it produces output depending on how you want the output to come out. So for the web API, you can connect to it, you can ask it, you can query it through several mechanisms, and then you get the result. And then the result can then be processed however you want to.
Okay, so that sounds pretty flexible. And as I'm any as I'm thinking about this too, Ram, I know uh the military, at least in the United States, and I know you're working globally, right? But my experience is with the US military. Their focus is on modular open systems approach. Is it fair to say that Valmiz can be integrated with other systems as well?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, that's critical. And I imagine so many other, not just US military, but on the commercial side, as well as on the global military side, people are looking for systems that can integrate with existing systems or enhance their current systems instead of having to do something completely new.
Yes, that's right.
All right, so Rom, where do you see this going in the future?
I'm seeing more agents that are going to be created. Um, More tighter integration with um, more use cases, better way to reason. So ultimately, the goal of Valmis is to act as your unbiased assistant, act as your personal companion on a personal level. Um, yeah, that's about it.
Okay, excellent. So, where are we kind of with regards to availability? In other words, if I want to get Valmiz tomorrow, can I? And if not, how soon will this be available to consumers and to the defense community?
So we're planning to showcase capabilities of Valmis um, last quarter of this year. So we're going to be attending an expo in Las Vegas in, I think that's in September, and then we also have a demo for AI Asia Expo in the Philippines in October.
All right, so that Vegas one, I think I might know which one you're talking about, but I want to be sure. Will we be seeing you at the commercial UAV Expo in Las Vegas?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, exciting. So everybody, I know so many of you out there watching this will be going there. Make sure you're finding Ram and his teammates. Talk a little bit about Valmiz, and what is happening with that. So really exciting. So can't wait to see you in person. That's amazing. So how else can, in the meantime, Ram, how can people learn a little bit more about Valmiz?
You can go to the website valmiz.com. That's VALMIZ.com.
All right, very good. Before we close out, anything else you want to add for our audience?
Hello to everyone, and thank you for watching and listening to us.
All right, very good. Well, we're going to keep an eye out, and I'm excited to see how this progresses.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Everybody, we are out here.